Are our minds already split? Roger Sperry and his colleagues demonstrated in the 1950s that the corpus callosum cannot facilitate a complete transfer of learning between the cerebral hemispheres. After cutting the optic chiasma in cats, thereby confining the inputs of each eye to a single hemisphere, they discovered that only simple learning acquired through one eye could transfer to the other side of the brain. Given the immense amount of information processing that takes place in each hemisphere, it seems certain that even a normal human brain will be functionally split to one or another degree. 200 million nerve fibers seem insufficient to integrate the simultaneous activity of 20 billion neurons in the cerebral cortex, each of which makes hundreds or thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of connections to its neighbors. Given this partitioning of information, how can our brains not harbor multiple centers of consciousness even now? The philosopher Roland Puccetti once observed that the existence of separate spheres of consciousness in the normal brain would explain one of the most perplexing features of split brain research. Why is it that the right hemisphere is generally willing to bear silent witness to the errors and confabulations of the left? Could it be that the right hemisphere is used to it? An answer consistent with the hypothesis of mental duality in the normal human brain suggests itself. The non-speaking hemisphere has known the true state of affairs from a very tender age. It has known this because beginning at age 2 or 3, it heard speech emanating from the common body that, as language development on the left proceeded, became too complex grammatically and syntactically for it to believe it was generating. The same, of course, for what it observed the preferred hand writing down in school through the years. Post-surgically, little has changed for the mute hemisphere, other than the loss of sensory information about the ipsilateral half of bodily space. Being inured to this status of cerebral helot, it goes along. Thankless cooperation can become a way of life. Take a moment to absorb how bizarre this possibility is. The point of view from which you are consciously hearing these words may not be the only conscious point of view to be found in your brain. It is one thing to say that you are unaware of a vast amount of activity in your brain. It is quite another to say that some of this activity is aware of itself and is watching your every move. There must be a reason why the structural integrity of the corpus callosum creates a functional unity of mind, insofar as it does. And perhaps it is only the division of the corpus callosum that makes for separated regions of consciousness in the human brain. But whatever the final lesson of the split brain is, it thoroughly violates our common sense intuitions about the nature of our subjectivity. A person's experience of the world, while apparently unified in a normal brain, can be physically divided. The problem this poses for the study of consciousness may be insurmountable. If I were to interrogate my brain with the help of a colleague, one who is willing to expose my cortex and begin probing with a microelectrode, neither of us would know what to make of a region that failed to influence the contents of, quote, my consciousness. The split brain phenomenon suggests that all that I would be able to say is whether I, as perhaps only one among many centers of consciousness to be found in my brain, felt anything when my friend applied the current. Feeling nothing, I wouldn't know whether the neurons in question constituted a region of consciousness in their own right, for the simple reason that I might be just like a split-brain patient given to wonder with his articulate left hemisphere whether or not his right hemisphere is conscious. It surely is, and yet no amount of experimental probing on his part will drive the relevant facts into view. As long as we must correlate changes in the brain, or any other physical system, with first-person reports, any physical systems that are functionally mute may nevertheless prove to be conscious, and our attempt to understand the causes of consciousness will fail to take them into account. All brains and persons may be split to one or another degree. Each of us may live, even now, in a fluid state of split and overlapping subjectivity. Whether or not this seems plausible to you may not be the point. Another part of your brain may see the matter differently.